and we are here. I'm Laura O'Brien, and we are doing our 15-minute consultations that are turning out to be longer than 15 minutes, but that's okay because we're giving service to the community. I am a successful author and spiritual entrepreneur who runs a multi-stream business in Irish pagan publishing and education, and you can find out more at lauraobrien.business. And we're here with, we've booked in some free consultations here with my community because we want to help people who are at various stages in their spiritual businesses to grow, develop, and basically find the next step. So that's our mission for today, is to find the next step for people. So Andrea, where are you coming from in the world, and tell us a little bit about where you are now or where you'd like to be.
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area right now. Where I'm coming from is having a diversity of different skills and experiences that I'd like to bring into one space, if that's possible. In some of your other consults, you've mentioned like an umbrella business in which you had like multiple streams in. I'm really curious about that. So far, when I brought this up to other business consultants through like the SBDC or wherever, I've been told like you need to focus on one, and like I don't know how to do that when I feel like the different streams to me, they link up really well when I think of like healthy families, healthy children. We start with like food and like cooking, and then like that goes into like healthy like grown-ups. So I'm looking at something to be able to utilize like my background in herbalism and nutrition and like gut health, and tying it into like mental neuro health, especially in regards to like trauma and healing and having moved using those tools and helping facilitate people using those tools to move through experiences that have left an imprint. I'm also really curious about like different like nature therapies, but like I've had some experience with like equine therapy and art therapy, and trying to like blend these into an offering in which like and this is where like when we talk about avatar focus or like a target market, my biggest question is how to link and maintain continuity between diverse groups, because like when in an earlier consult you spoke about like think about a person that you've helped, and I thought about 3 different people and they're very different. They have like a unique thread that brings them all together, but they're like very different markets if you're looking at just like the market.
Yeah. So that what you're describing there is very relatable in the way of like traditional business consultants not really getting what we're doing, right? So that's very, very common, and you're going to come across that a lot in mainstream. Like the first time we went to try and we had like a community meeting with an accountant slash business developer through our local enterprise office, and he spent the first half an hour just literally kind of shaking his head and looking at me like, you know, how is this working, right? And this is very early on in our like going official with the spiritual business, and I was like, no, you like, and he was trying to tell me how there's no, you know, similar, like there's no way this is all going to work together. And I was like, no, it's working already, you know? And he was like, but look at your figures. I said, the figures don't matter because the community is there, right? And, you know, so I really practice what I preach, right? I've been there, done that, totally, totally relatable. And they just don't get it, right? And they probably never will, and that's okay, right? Because they have a very narrow, you know, straight line, streamlined version of what business is, right? That's okay. We can take all the best bits from that and like blend it into this weird patchwork thing that, you know, tapestry kind of river flowing stream, whatever analogy we're going with right now. We can totally make it work, right? I'm really curious what the common thread in those 3 avatars or those 3 community members, what is that common thread?
It's the traumatic experiences, and you mentioned that earlier, like not defining us by trauma, but it's like really difficult experiences that people have had to like overcome and live their life. Like people that I end up running into are like people in the grocery store that are healing from like an illness that like are like, oh, like here we are in the herb section, like, and this random person is asking me what this plant does. And then there's a person on the bus that obviously has some like PTSD from like a war experience, who all of a sudden we end up in this weird conversation about like different modes of like self-expression that help move through like patterns, where it does have that spiritual component of like all of a sudden this person has like dropped in front of me. I'm usually not expecting it and I'm a little like taken off guard. And so I was like, okay, how do I, if this is what I feel like is being asked of me in service, how do I make this accessible and not just these like random encounters?
Yeah. Well, for a start, I would say the universe is pushing you, you know, pushing these people into your path, definitely for a reason, right? And I do believe that things happen for a reason, and that, you know, that is an example of like, you know, signs that we can get that, you know, oh look, this is work that you should be doing. This is work that you can do, you know, which is so valuable then for obviously the impact that you're having on people that, you know, who you're doing that work for. So it's a case of maybe structurizing that and formalizing it, and putting some kind of process or system in place so that it's repeatable, right? And you know that you can kind of have that structure there, that when you do meet somebody randomly on a bus or in the health food shop, you can be like, here's my card, or you know, this is my website, join my mailing list and I can help you, you know. So you're not necessarily you know, you're not asking them for money there in the health, you know, the herbal aisle of the grocery store, right? But you're giving them an option to join your community because, you know, you're there for a reason. Okay. And obviously then once you have that structure in place, then that will start to attract, you know, on an online basis, not just people that you're running into physically as well, right? So your kind of umbrella, I know I said with Liv in a previous video, I said that the healing might be too specific, but actually for you might need the positivity of healing. So something like healing trauma, you know, and like trauma is kind of seen as a negative, but obviously if you put that positive, you know, process in front of it, then, or trauma healing, or, you know, now, is there, does there have to be an in-person element, or can it be online for you?
I think it can be both. Another aspect of this common thread that I see is the trauma of birth and like starting a new family. And so what I've found so far in talking to like new families and new mothers is that the mother usually like recognizes that that was like a really traumatic experience, but that like it's not an identity, right? Like
Yeah.
that new family experience. I mean, it's just where I am in my life right now too, but working with families because I'm curious, like I have to think more about like how to change, like find a new word for traumatic or like trauma, you know, where it's like, and I feel like it's a little oversaturated too.
Well,
Like,
what about taking trauma out of it altogether and, you know, making the focus on the family, you
like
know, and
families.
just like, because a lot of what you've actually described, right? Yes, trauma can come into it, like this family trauma, right? It's their first trauma for a lot of us, right? Um, and then further on, then, you know, through their lives, I'm always a little bit wary of genderizing it. You know, like it would be an obvious one to maybe say women's healing or something like that. But I think, as you say, that's very overused for a start. And then it's like, you know, you are quite likely to run across people who have given birth who don't identify as women. So you're automatically kind of discounting them as well, and doing them a disservice. So, you know, I am trying to stay away from gender terms specifically when I'm working with business, just as a, I mean, as a personal thing anyway, but also as a community service, you know, for the community that I don't even know I have most of the time, right? Because they, you know, LGBT people don't always go around waving flags. You know, sometimes they do, but they don't always, right? So you don't know who you're dealing with, and you don't know what their experiences are, obviously. So keeping things as general as possible is a good way. But family focus, family, like play around with the family as your common thread. I think is maybe what I'm hearing from you. Would that fit, or would that suit, or does it resonate?
It does. I think it's the same thing where it's like I don't want to exclude people because this is the fourth experience I've had is sex workers, and so it's like a lot of times they do have families. Most of the time they have families, but then like I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to notice me receiving feedback. Like maybe just think outside the box for a little bit, like my box, and listen to your box, and or it's not a box,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
and with that kind of diversity, I'm curious about creating content with that too. You've been advising that a lot, and so like to get focused on who I'm helping, how do I make content and like service offerings that are going to draw them in, and not as like I have a value offering, but like
just to serve them, yeah, like to build the
yeah,
community around that.
yeah,
Um, that's actually the simple part. Once you get the umbrella part down, right? I'm really kind of liking the family thing, because even with sex workers, as you say, everybody has a family, right? Like family, like especially when you're coming from the trauma side of things, like some people have been cut off from their family, certainly some people are adopted, and some people have lost family, and there's all sorts of ways of that. So if you're taking the kind of trauma out of the umbrella, and putting family into it, like it's still making a nice kind of catch-all, right? And then what you just do is theme your content, right? So I would say to, there is a tiny bit of wisdom, so don't throw the baby with the bathwater, right? With the traditional advice to focus on one thing, right? But we kind of twist it in the way that we we do what I call batching, right? Or what's commonly called batching, right? So like I have the Morrigan, I have OM, I have I have my journeying practice, which is kind of like a base rock for a lot of the stuff that I do, the guided journeys. But those are the kind of the three main themes that I personally work with. And then like we have the publishing, and we have, I have Queen Maeve now, and there's going to be a she book down the road. And so there's different themes within the work that I do, right? And what I tend to do is focus on them for a particular amount of time when I'm creating content. So now for us, it kind of ties in with like program launches and all the rest of it. But like when you're not at that stage, you can just pick something, right? And work on that for a month, And like I was saying in the other videos, where, you know, put that content in the bank then. So, you have your blog post, or your YouTube channel. And I kind of keep coming back to those two, because I think they're the easiest to get up and running, and they're the especially YouTube, like it's the most accessible for most people. Like well, we all obviously have video capability because we're all on video right here, right now. Um, you can make a video. You can make a video, you can put it on YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube account, right? So it is the absolute simplest way to get started. And as we were saying in the other consults, um, it's also I really feel it's where that kind of trust and connection factor is heading, more so than it has been. And it has been really strong, but I think we're going to get more and more into it as everybody is going online, and people are getting more used to the value of virtual connection, and the value that is coming from, like there definitely has been an attitude of like, if I have to look you in the eye, or we have to sit face to face, or that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people are realizing now, oh wait, our teenagers were right, virtual friends are just as good as real friends, right? And it's good to have a balance, obviously, right? But where a lot of people would have disregarded the value of online connection, it's definitely, that's changing, and I think we probably won't go back. So getting on video is becoming more and more relevant, and I think that will just keep going. So the absolute easiest way that you could do this is start, as I, as I said to Liv, start a Gmail, find out what your umbrella is, figure that out. That's definitely your next step, right? And make it something as general as possible so that you can pivot within that, that you can change, and start to create content in batches that way. Start with whatever you're most passionate about right now, okay? Because the phase that you're at the moment is community building, the same as similar to the other consults, where you have a lot of potential around you. You have a lot of different type of people that you can help, and you're going to connect more with, over time, you're going to find that, like, as you start teaching about, how nutrition can help trauma, right? You start to create content on that. Sorry, that's just, it could be completely irrelevant, so forgive me if it is, but
No,
um,
wonderful.
but you start to create content around that, and you find that after, like, on day 14, you're fucking sick of the sight of it and you never want to talk about it ever again, right? And that's really important. That's a really valuable lesson to learn, right? And you won't learn it. Like, if you decided if you took that traditional business advice and you decided that that was where the money was, say, right, or that was where the biggest demographic was, then you end up stuck, just the same as what Terry said. You're stuck in that corporate world effectively. The same boundaries, the same restrictions are on you, because you're getting up in the morning and doing something that you fucking hate, right? And that's never going to be any good to anybody, right? So batching content and creating content, you know like, do it for a year. Like, take a month with a team and look how it builds up then over time. Like, that's another good thing about doing it on YouTube. You can see straight away, if something takes off, if something is popular, if something is being searched for, like, all that recording and that data is there for you on YouTube, so it's a very simple way to get started with that. And you can start to see what's resonating as well with the type of people that are in a mood to listen to you, or in a place to listen to you, and you start to make those connections then. So you can start then to make content if you find that this particular video that you made, 3 months ago, suddenly jumps like a couple of hundred views, or a couple of thousand views even. And you're like, oh, that was actually a topic that I really enjoyed doing, or I love talking about that, or you have, like, ideas for 10 more videos just like it, right, or on the same theme. Then do that as your batch, create that, and you can start to figure out what direction is going to be that really nice relationship of what you love doing and what's resonating with the people who need your help, right? And when you find that, then like, for me, that's definitely the Morrigan stuff. It that goddess was my first love. You know love hate kind of relationship. um but it's something that I'm really good at. It really resonates with the people who need to hear from me, and I can be of service to the most. And I know more about other topics, or I know just as much about other topics, but it's not finding the same, for whatever it is about, like, the pagan community just kind of really needed an authentic voice on the Morrigan, at the time that I came into it. And it was just a really good, like, relationship between me and that section of the community. And it's a service that I can provide because, I'm here and I've done so much work on, with the physical landscape here, and that's a unique selling prospect that I can bring to the market. And, like, I use all those terms ironically, but, like, again, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? They're common business terms, not because of fucking corporate speak, or not because, they're common business terms because they commonly describe the realities of business, right? So yeah, I would say get on YouTube. I would say figure out your Gmail, whatever that's going to be. Start fresh, right? If you're like, if you don't have anything established already, Sorry, do you have anything established already? Like, do you have,
Mm-mm.
no, no. So,
Well, not really. It was my partner and I have a business together, but it's been since we moved to California, we've been doing other
mm,
aspects of it, which haven't included like private consulting,
yeah,
whatever you want to call it.
okay. So start your content creation. Get your Gmail account, sign up for a mailing list subscriber service, just so you have somewhere to send people. You have a call to action to do on your videos, right? Because you don't want to be creating content for ages and just, they click it and then they click off, right? So yes, a certain amount of them will subscribe to your channel and that's great. But what you really want to do is get them on your mailing list, right? Because then you can move into phase two, which is the service, and you can start more direct communication with them. Like, you get a certain amount through the comments in YouTube, definitely, and definitely watch those and respond to those where you can. There's gold in there as well. Any comments that come under a video, like even if it's people giving out, it's valuable learning, right? It's valuable feedback. And I say people giving out because YouTube is a fucking cesspit for the a lot of the time, right? And now you can set your channel to um, cut out the nasty stuff, and it just never appears on the comments and you don't have to deal with it. So that's good. You can even set words like where, like, if you start to notice that people are calling you a particular name or something like that, you can set that as a blocked word so they can't even comment, right? And you can just, I tend to just ban anybody who sets a foot out of line. They're just it's gone. One strike, you're out. No mercy. um, we don't need your type around here. So I'm absolutely merciless when it comes to, you know, as many people know, I tend not to take shit from people, um, because you know we don't need it. It's not good for them. It's not good for you. It's not good for anybody reading it, and you don't have to engage with it. Um, so yeah, you have your general term, whatever that is. Try and get your Gmail set up from that, and start a YouTube channel, and get your mailing list set up as well, so you have somewhere to send people, right? And as I said in the other consultation for Terry, um, it's nice to have something on offer. So again, like a free draw is really good. They can send you a specific problem and you can send back herbal recommendations for them, or I know or it could be a really common complaint, and you have a herbal recipe that when they sign up for your mailing list, they can literally download a PDF of that recipe, right? So that's a nice easy one. And as I said, I definitely will on the business channel. I will definitely get into more on uh, getting people to sign up for your mailing list and the tech and all that. I think I'll actually do that next, because that's kind of come up for most of us here. So I'll maybe walk through signing up for a ConvertKit account, and just like screen share and just walk people through the process. So um, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss that. And make sure you're on the mailing list, because I'll send out, just in case you missed it on YouTube, I'll send it out through the mailing list as well. Okay. So is that helpful? Do you know your next step?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And I know that you you have a family and all the rest of it. So maybe you're not as time rich, but you can still set yourself a schedule that works for you for consistent content, because that is the number one thing for all of us, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or blogs or anything. It is the number one thing that I fall down on, is, is consistency. It really is. But like, set yourself some kind of challenge, a personal goal or whatever. I'm going to make 3 videos a week. I'm going to make 1 video a week. I'm going to make a video a day. Whatever it is that you feel is sustainable and realistic, you can always ramp it up. It's harder when you kind of come in and you commit to this big schedule. And I know, Terry, I said that you need to do it every day, and Liv, you need to do it every day, but you're at different stages, right? And Liv, I know, is going out and about every day anyway, so it's an easy one to just throw in kind of vlog style. Terry, you have your established audience, so you know, you're at a different level, so it's time to ramp that up with the daily content. Jess is already doing amazing Facebook Lives. So so yeah, email, YouTube, and mailing list. Okay. And yeah, be thinking about what you can offer as well for people signing up to your mailing list. What's something really simple um, that you can give as just a download? So I'll walk through all that in ConvertKit, how to do that. And ConvertKit, by the way, is free. I can give you the link to subscribe. It is a paid service, and there's certain things that you can't do on the free version, you know, but that's okay. MailChimp is another one that you could use. I moved away from MailChimp a long time ago because the deliverability of it went down. People's email accounts were basically just saying, nah, it's a MailChimp thing, we don't want it. And it was just going straight to spam. So that's happening a lot with the MailChimp service. So, you know, when you're small and you're starting out, I'd say just start fresh with ConvertKit. I say ConvertKit because they're quite intuitive to use. They do things like landing pages and stuff, so you don't have to like get a separate service for any of that when you get into that down the line. You know, if you're going to make an offer or anything like that, or if you're going to do like a Facebook ad, you can literally just click and make a landing page straight in ConvertKit that just brings people straight to your email list. So you don't need a separate website or anything like that. So that's the reason that I'm recommending that, and also because I use them, John uses them. You know, it's a system that we know, and they were pretty rough when I started. I started pretty early in their business, and they were pretty rough, and they've definitely improved. But they're also set up for creators specifically, and there's a lot of support in there. Um, their customer service is second to none. I've never had a problem with them. They're always straight back to me with any issue, and they've never, in all the years I've been with them, they've never let me down. So there's your little ConvertKit ad. If you want to go into my toolkit on loraobrien.business, there's a link so you can sign up straight away. And start playing around with it if you want. But you know, your Gmail account and your mailing list and your YouTube is the absolute simplest way to get set up. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so